Today, my guest is Dr. Kristie Nguyen, an optometrist in Winter Park, Florida. She also is brand ambassador for several companies, a successful entrepreneur. She's a member of the Optometry Divas, which is a group for women optometrists to connect, get educated, and it sounds like you guys have a lot of fun as well in that group. And they are getting ready to host their Winter Wonderland event coming up here on December 8th, and are actually looking for an ophthalmology group or practice to sponsor that event. And so sure, we'll get to hear a little bit more about that from Dr. Kristie as we get rolling here. But if you have some interest in that, we'll remind you later too. You can always reach out and find Dr. Kristie on LinkedIn, as well as some other places we may be able to drop in some of the notes to this. So Dr. Kristie, welcome, and thanks for spending some time with me.
Thank you so much, Eric, for inviting me. It's been such a pleasure. I would love to, like I said, contribute and share.
Awesome. Well, we're looking forward to it. So first off, just tell us a little bit about, your background and really how you got into this profession.
Well, a little bit about my background. I grew up in a huge family. I have 6 siblings. I am the oldest. Both of my parents are factory workers, so they have no education. I was the first in my family to go to college. I decided in junior high that, optometry was going to be my jam because I felt like, I want to be like Jesus and I want to cure the blind, but nothing related with blood or surgery. So since high school, moving forward, I already had the plan of, what classes I need to take to get me there. So I literally went straight through and got out of college and been doing this for 17 years now and loving every part of it.
Oh, that's awesome. So, so I think you started to touch on this a little bit, but do you have what's the bigger reason why you do what you do? I mean, a lot of times it's you're talking about touching people's lives through vision. Can you expand on that at all?
Sure, because I also wear glasses and contact lenses, so I know the struggle that people get when they can't see. I mean, my grades suffered until I got my first pair of glasses in 4th grade. Literally, my grades went from F's to A's, so I'm sure there's a little bit of vision to do with that, but probably a little bit with language as well. But no, I know what they go through, so I know what it feels like to have a clear vision, what the world looks like. I mean, when I first put on my glasses, I was able to see the leaves on a tree. I thought before that they were just bushes, and that's how I drew all my trees before I got my first pair of glasses. So I want to be able to give that same gift to people on a daily basis. Just to change that one life with their vision makes a huge impact, because that's how we see the world, is through our eyes. To take that sense away is just cruel.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, a lot of us that wear glasses can definitely relate to that. I mean, I think, well, it was 4th grade for me as well when I got my first pair of glasses. And I remember, because I was such an introvert, like I never brought it up. I don't know why, but to this day as a kid, I don't know why I didn't do it. But my mom finally caught me, because she'd asked me something, and I gave her kind of a copping out answer to it. And I don't remember the proceeding, but I do remember the time when she pointed to the clock in our kitchen, which was up high, and I was seated a ways away from it, probably 5 feet, 10 feet away from it. And she's like, "What time is it? Tell me." And I looked at it, and all I could see was on this clock. She knew I knew how to read a regular clock, it wasn't digital, but all I could see was just a bunch of blurred. It almost looked like a full circle, and then nothing else. I'm like, I can't do it. So, right. So I was like, after that time, got into the eye doctor, of course, got the glasses, and it changed a ton for me. So, yeah, that was a big deal. But oh, very good. So, beyond your work with optometry or in optometry, I know you do. You're a member of this other group, the Optometry Divas. I know you do a lot of volunteering. I mean, what makes you tick, and what really drives the changes you want to see or make in either the world or your community? I mean, kind of talk to us a little bit about that, because I know you do a lot outside of work as well.
Yeah, so what I want to do is just educate the public about what optometrists do, especially in the US. A lot of people don't understand the scope of practice of what we can provide to our patients. And I think that it's there's a lot out there that we can offer. So for them to, if they had an eye issue, instead of going to the emergency room or to the med clinic, they can come to an optometrist. We can, diagnose and treat a lot of those symptoms. And a lot of people don't understand that. So I do a lot of educational videos online. I try to make it fun, make it entertaining so that, in a fun way, people can grasp the concept and move forward in getting their eyes checked. Because there are so many people I would see come in for their first eye exam in their 30s, 40s, 50s even. I'm like, how can you wait this long to get your eyes examined? Don't you understand? We check for your eye health, not just your vision, but people don't know or see or know of the correlation between vision and eye health. They're not always linked together. Sometimes they are, but not always. So that is my mission, is just to educate and also to bridge the gap between, within the optometry profession between optician and optometrist, because again, there's a lot of confusion there between optometrists and ophthalmologists as well. So there's a lot of confusion where the grays kind of blur in, but there is quite big distinctions between the three groups.
Yeah, for sure. Very nice. Yeah, and I think that's great that you're doing that, because I think in a lot of professional service industries, that same kind of education is needed, right? Because we only learn about what these different professions can do from kind of what we're handed down from probably our parents or other influential adults as we're growing up. And so, I mean, we get the same thing with, me being a licensed CPA, although we only have CPA. That title encompasses a wide range of skill sets and, different jobs and different titles or paths. And we don't have necessarily like all the other titles. We got to kind of make up our own titles to get people intrigued, and then we can learn more. So, but education is really key. And like I said, like knowing where to go when you're experiencing some symptoms, right? Because that's going to make a world of difference. I mean, not to get too personal, so I'm not going to go TMI here on you by any means, but just like I've had that, not so much with optometry, although I did have an eye condition that went undiagnosed for a long time in my life. And then by the time that my current eye doctor, and this is one of the reasons why I've stuck with him, also that he's just a great guy, but when he spent the time and asked me enough questions and probed to get it out of me, because it was like, it wasn't top of mind, the symptom that I was experiencing, but he saw something in there. And to this day, I'm sorry, I don't remember the name of it, but it ended up putting a prism in my lens. So that probably gives you some insight into what it was, because I was experiencing some blurry vision or double vision, but only at certain stages. So, but it was the probing question. So it's a combination of, the education, yes, plus the time you spend. I think we were talking a little bit before the interview started about how, you spend quite a bit of time with your patients in the exam room.
Yes. So it's super important to be a good detective. And I think that's the hardest thing about being an optometrist. You have to be the detective. Sometimes the patients know that there's a problem, but they're not sure what it is. So as a doctor, you have to kind of ask around when you see something suspicious and kind of get them to show you what it is. And eventually the answer comes out, because I'm like, yeah, I knew that, but I just had to get you to say it. So, kind of that way the aha moment comes for the patient, and they're like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I've been experiencing. Nobody's ever put it into words. Then I give them even more information about it so they can research at home. And then that way they know that they can always come back to me for further explanation if they need to, because I'm not an expert in everything by all means, but if it's something I am comfortable with, I will go into more details with them to explain.
Sure. Very nice. Very cool. So, so taking a look back on your career, like what have been some of the toughest challenges you think that you've experienced in your career to get to where you're at today?
I think the toughest would be failing my boards part 1. The first time I had to take it a second time. And that was so nerve-wracking, because I literally just got out of school. I'm not a good test taker. I'm just one of those who overanalyze every single question. And then I double second doubt my answers, and I go back and I change it like 3 times. So failing it the first time really just scared me, because I'm like, I can't believe I worked this hard to not be a doctor. So I was like, God, you can't lead me this far and like not let me go through. I was like, you got to help me to the second part. So I studied, retook pass it the second time, but man, I'm never taking those tests again.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, well, I feel the same way about the CPA exam, and I can tell yours, that exam would be infinitely harder. So, oh my gosh. So, but that, that's the type of thing. I mean, a lot of folks, there's a lot of folks on both sides of that coin, but a lot of folks would look at that as, that kind of failure as like a real setback. I mean, just out of curiosity, like you might have even mentioned, I'm not sure how long before you retook
It was
the
just a couple months.
just a couple
So
months. Okay.
it was just a couple months. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to stop everything. I'm just going to study for a couple months because we just graduated and there's no way I was going to keep all this information fresh because
Yeah.
part one of national boards was a lot of the science and the math. And there is no way you would pass it if you've been out of school for a long period of time.
Mhm.
So if I didn't read, go through my notes right then and there's no way. There would be no way. The other parts is much easier. It's just like, pharmacology, clinical skills, things like that. That is different.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Um, all right, well, that's cool. So on the flip side of that, then, I know that's a major success. I'm about to ask you about a victory or success. That's a major one. Beyond that, what's been another like victory or success that's been really meaningful for you in your career?
Well, just me actually hitting a rut in my routine about 6 years ago. Just the monotony of just seeing patients 5 to 6 days a week, just the burnt out of doing the same thing over and over with nothing different. So
Mhm.
that's when the entrepreneurship came in. I started doing direct sales of all things, and it wasn't even in eye care. It was like skincare, but it taught me all these ways of personal development, how to brand myself in social media. So I took all that skills and I put it to work. And that literally got me a, in front of all these eyes that were in the optical industry that was I was already starting to connect on social media. And literally right before COVID hit, I started getting all these different companies reach out to me and asking me to partner with them. And it continued to grow over the course post COVID because everybody was been on the computer. So I've been on a couple of different podcasts, been asked to speak on social media branding. I was even flown out to Vietnam and was able to speak out there recently.
Oh,
So I mean, it's such life changing. Now I have a renewed um, love for my profession and to share it on social media, which I'm already on. So I was like, why not just continue being on and just talk about eyes like you do all the time in the chair anyway? So instead of talking to one person, I can speak to like 100 people in one post. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. Wow, that's great. Yeah, I think, and again, I mean, no matter the job, but no matter the job, I think we can all, at least envision if you haven't gotten there yourself before, right? Like what you're talking about, like the monotony, the burnout, because you're putting in long hours, you're working hard, you're on top of all that. As professionals, we're keeping up on continuing education and changes and new findings in the field, and there's a lot that goes into doing what you do, doing what we do. And so, that being able to find other paths, and it happens quite a bit differently for everybody. So that's why I like to get into those conversations, discussions here, because it gives people options to be thinking about and considering before they've hit it, or maybe even while they're in that spot of just like, man, do I want to really, do I want to keep doing this? I love what I do, but at the same time, it's tiring, right?
So you just never know when an opportunity may come aboard that would help reignite your passion. And the thing is, don't be afraid when it's not in the same category. Because
Mm.
for me, it was completely like outside of what I was comfortable with. Like I literally had to get out of my comfort zone, but that's where growth happens. Nothing grows when it's stagnant, and a lot of people don't realize that. They're like, no, but I'm comfortable here. I don't want to change, but they're not happy. If you're not happy, obviously something's not working. You got to change. And for people who are introverts like you and I, we don't like change. We like our comfort, we like the routine, but if we're unhappy, it's so hard to step out. Like I was so nervous stepping out. I was afraid of how people would thought of me. I was afraid of being on camera. I was afraid of posting, just posting. I didn't even want to do that. But look how far I've grown in 6 years. So I'm so proud of where I am.
Yeah, for sure. Man, that's great. And Well, we can just that's awesome. First and foremost, like I think you really hit it though. It's like you know, I was going to go into getting outside your comfort zone. I had a business coach once or a consultant that told me that everything you want is right outside your comfort zone, right? And there's that disconnect that just so many people. And again, when you're in it, it's tough to see it. And that was the phrase that he used multiple times during our relationship together to pull me out and get me to see that, right? I mean, we had a longer talk or discussion about it at the time, but then he would just keep coming back to that phrase, Eric, everything you want right outside your comfort zone. You just got to take that, you just got to take one step. And as you take one step out of it, then that kind of becomes in your comfort zone. It's only one step at a time. It's not like, you know, it's not like we're asking anybody to climb a huge mountain in one day, right? And make all these drastic changes to their world and their life. It's just one step at a time, but it's consistent actions, right? I think you probably found that out too. Small, consistent actions over time that helps you get, like you said, get recognized by these other brands, start to venture out into other fields, and ultimately, it all kind of comes full circle and works together in a special way.
Yes,
You agree?
definitely. Totally agree.
Yeah.
Because again, by expanding that little circle of comfort, you're actually getting each step you take, you're going outside that circle of comfort into a new circle of comfort.
Right.
So
Exactly. Very nice. So, well, I think you've dropped a lot of like awesome advice here already, and people listening to you hopefully are really inspired, should be really inspired by what type of options they have, what they can accomplish, whether it's, you know, something that's close to what you're doing or just in their own lives. And the conversation we're just having is stepping outside their comfort zone, whatever that means for them, right? It's what it takes to get to a higher level. And like you said, ultimately, we're all wanting and searching for a happiness factor that in our personal lives that and the professional feeds into that, but so does, you know, a lot of other things, right? So it all works together. But what is, if you had to come back down and give just one piece of advice here in closing to that you give to others on their journey, I mean, would that be it about the comfort zone, or do you have something?
no, I actually would say something different. I would
Okay.
say you need to network
Ah,
because you never know who you're going to meet, when you're going to meet them, and how they're going to help you in your journey. So there are so many different things out there, but it all depends on who you meet when you meet them and how they will maybe turn around and help you in your journey. So network, network, network. Don't be afraid to talk to people, but genuinely talk to people. Don't talk to them with a motive in mind. Talk to them because you want to know them. You know, so give more than you want to receive. Give more of yourself. See how you can help them. Learn about them. Do less talking, more hearing. That's and like I said, just make genuine connection offline, not online. Online is great, but take it offline because there's a more personal touch offline when you see them in person. You touch them, you handshake them, hug them. I don't know. It's just much more personable when you meet somebody in person, and that's what I love about going to events because I get to do that.
yeah, for sure. So I'm curious. Now that you said that, I know we said we were closing, but that sparked a question in me because there was a time. I know we both self-professed introverts on this interview. I don't know if you said it before,
Yes.
but I probably have. So in me as well, right? But it's like networking. So there's one level of this because I find that a lot of folks in our professions, respectively, are introverted at some degree. Now, there's always exceptions to that rule, but a lot of them that I come across have some level of introvert in them. Some are a little bit better at pretending to be extroverts than others. It took me a long.
Well, it's more of a selective extrovert. Like I
There you
can choose to
go.
be an extrovert for a short period of time, but then it drains, and then I come back to my introvert self.
So for somebody like that, I mean, how did you get into like getting yourself out there to network? Because, you know, honestly, when I look at it, like doing something on social media or doing an interview like this or a video where I'm on my own, you know, all those things are it's a different dynamic because I'm not, you know, I'm not obviously not face to face with anybody physically. I'm not feeding, you know, our energies aren't feeding off of each other. So there's a different dynamic there. When you get into networking, in a huge group, and I know this is a skill that I had to learn, but do you have any like shortcut or resource or tips on?
Again, so if it's through like social media like this, what I tell people when we're doing like just a one-on-one call on Zoom, the trick is to talk to them as if you in your own profession. So what do you do as your profession? You only speak to one client, maybe two is there. So that should be your comfort zone. So put on that type of hat. So I always imagine I'm the doctor, you're my patient, and I'm just going to talk to you how I would normally talk to my patient. Super comfortable. There's no threat, nothing for me to worry about because I'm just trying to learn about you and I'm trying to figure out how I can solve your problem as you sit across from me. Now, in a big room, though, that's a little trickier. In a big room, okay, this gets trickier. This is when I say, you know what? This is where I was taught to basically brand yourself to so that you can stand out physically. What I mean that is, for me, I did it with my hairstyle. Not a lot of Asians have short hair. Not a lot of Asian with short hair has colored hair. So I purposely did my hairstyle this way, so that when I walk into the room, everyone recognizes me. Why? Because I post my pictures and videos all the time on social media. I'm easily recognizable. And like I said, rare to have an Asian with short hair that's colored. So what do? They come up and say hi to me. Now that gives me an opportunity to go, hi, my name is Kristie. Who are you? I would not come up to you in a room unless I recognize you as, you know, Bruce, the guy in the blue shirt, or Adam Ramsey in his hat. So again, it all just depends on what you have as your character look that would make you differentiate in a room, even if you were masked. So even when I'm masked at an event, people recognize me. Why? Because I'm recognizable.
Sure.
So
Those
that's the
are
secret.
those are wonderful tricks that I'm just going to have to adapt for myself as well because I didn't have it down so well as you do there. That was awesome. And
Great training with my direct sales.
that's great. Well, Kristie, it's been an honor to have you on today. I thank you for going kind of the extra mile, going overtime a little bit, and
No
just really giving our audience a lot of value. This has been fun. So thank you. And just one more reminder that we're still looking for an MD practice or group to sponsor the Optometry Divas Winter Wonderland coming up December 8th. Reach out to Dr. Kristie on LinkedIn. Dr. Kristie, have a great rest of your day. Great week coming up.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been wonderful.
All right. Thanks so much.
All right.